Hey everyone, this is Pig for Life, and today I'm doing a video review for DaCa-Toys Kronos, which is not Skyfire. Not to be confused with not Jetfire, because they are two different characters, and that is that. As you can see, I'm having trouble because I can't get the entire box in frame right now with my new setup. I could probably do it with a tripod, but then I'm actually going to probably be too far away to actually handle this guy. But let's get started. So as you can see, there's a nice figure here, figure image from one of the TFW members, Unicron. And he's been doing a lot of great artwork for a lot of different third parties. So this is a really nice rendition of Skyfire. So as always, let's go start off with the packaging. Very, very big box. I don't know what I can do to give you an idea. Well, let's bring in MP10 just to give you an idea of how big this box is. It's nearly, it's over 1.5 for sure. Almost 2 times the height of Masterpiece Prime. So that's a very, very big box. On the side we have a nice, again, a black and white picture of Kronos. The back has a color picture of Kronos. Let's see, we'll zoom in here very quickly. And then down here in his alt mode, a black and white version. This one's a little bit different. As you can see, the feet here are colored blue, but the actual figure is not colored blue. The feet, they're gray. And then again, as before, on the other side, the black and white Kronos. If I can get this, yeah, this is the top with the DaCa-Toys. And I believe that's the same on the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, nope, there's just a small DaCa-Toys on the bottom. So very nice packaging, very heavy. Mine came from Toy Dojo with Ed Bomber, who's always treated me really well. Packaged unbelievably well. With a lot of peanuts and a lot of bubble wrap. So mine came in very good shape. Others have said that they've had problems with theirs having dents or tears. Mine came in pretty much in perfect condition. So when you open up this flap, you get a nice picture of, again, Kronos on this side, with some interesting color apps that aren't present on the actual figure, and it's just odd because it has color here and here that they don't match. Color here and here and here on the right side, but again, nothing on the left side. So I don't know if that's done on purpose or or not. It's just kind of odd. In any case, the packaging is held on with magnets. There's magnets up here and down here, and you can actually see, I don't know what's going on there. There's actually dirt or something on where the magnets are there, as well as the corresponding section here and here. Not a huge deal, but just something to point out. I don't know if that's common. And then you get this great window that you can see the full figure in, and that just looks spectacular. Nice presentation here. The quality of the materials is very thick, so I don't think they skimped at all when it comes to packaging. Again, the nice packaging that shows you the figure itself, but also makes a great display piece if you like to do mint and seal box. There you have to cut a little tape here, but other than that, you can still keep a mint and seal box and still have them as a great shelf display. And then you can open this up one more time, and you have Kronos. Really well packaged in there, in this clamshell. You pull this out. I'm going to try to do that without destroying him. So you pull this out. It's in 2 pieces. You do get a really nice instruction manual. It's super thick, really detailed. Not the greatest instructions in terms of explanation, but they do the job. And it's a nice glossy book. And again, they didn't skimp here. A nice image there very detailed CAD drawings that walk you through each of these steps, but we're going to walk you through that anyway, so I'm not going to harp on that too much. And once you pull that out, somebody commented that you could leave him in the packaging and make him look like he's frozen in ice as he was in the G1 cartoon. I thought that was kind of clever. So let's start off down here. You have his double barrel rifle, which is just a plastic gun. Honestly, I actually feel like this is really cheap compared to the rest of the figure. It feels really hollow, and the plastic quality, I mean, the details aren't as consistent as with the amount of details on the figure itself. So I think it's a cool gun. From far away, it definitely looks nice. Again, double barrel, but just the amount of detail that's not on this figure compared to some of the areas of this figure, it just seems off. Okay, and the figure itself. And this guy is super heavy. I mean, you would expect that given the size. Here, let me try to get all this packaging out of the way so we have a little bit more room to work. But this figure is really, really big. We'll do size, since we're in bot mode already, let's do some size comparisons with Masterpiece Prime, the MP10 mold. I do have MP10, but honestly, he's one of my prized figures, and it's set up in a display right now that I really don't want to mess with. So, but I'll have a couple of the MP10 mold with Year of the Horse that I have. I use a lot just because he's nice to fiddle around with, but not mess up by a really expensive one. So as you can see, it comes out right to about the chest, abdomen area. I think this scales amazingly well for a Masterpiece collector. Very big, very imposing. And as you can see right here, he looks absolutely great. I think from this distance, people will be really, really happy. As a display piece on the shelf, you're going to be very, very happy with him. It's when you go into the details, which I will be doing soon, that you end up finding things here and there that may or may not bother you. And just for another comparison for size, let's bring out Feral Rex. And he's just a smidge shorter than Feral Rex, and this is at Leo Dux's medium setting on his legs, so if I collapse them down, they may be about the same height on the shortest setting for Feral Rex. But again, it looks really nice. I think again the scale is just really massive, and I should have brought my scale, my actual physical scale, but I think honestly that Kronos feels just as heavy as Feral Rex with his 2 legs and torso only. So that says a lot about the figure. But yeah, let's take a look at him. Let's go zoom in for the head sculpt. So I like his head sculpt. I like the color of the face with a nice silver. It looks really good. I think it pops. Originally they were going to do light piped eyes, or at least clear eyes, but they went with painted blue eyes, which I think looks better because of the big backpack. You're not going to get a lot of light, even if you did do some light piping. So it makes more sense, I think, to go with the blue eyes. My paint on the eyes isn't great, but it's fine. Again, from far away, you're really not going to notice. Let's take a look at the side. The nice big backpack here. And again, I'll try to pan down so you can see the entire figure. And from the back, with this big jetpack. If I position this right, I might be able to get all of them in there. There we go. And then this side, which was the same as the other side. And then back to the front. So taking a look at some of the detailing, this guy looks great. I think Arafat, and I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but he's been doing, he's the sole designer really, and member of DaCa-Toys. And if you look at the amount of detail here and here, just throughout the figure, especially on the front here, it looks great. I love the amount of detail. I think he could have made some better design choices here and there. Like, for instance, his detailing here goes across these different panels, which don't always perfectly align, so it looks a little sloppy. The ones that other people have pointed out are the fact that right here the mold doesn't line up correctly. There's no detail. There's supposed to be a line here. There's a line that comes from the side, but it doesn't go continue all the way around to the front of the leg. And actually, if you go around the back, the same thing here. And it's just on that one thigh piece, so it's kind of odd. Down on the legs, again, very nice detail, but there are some issues with alignment. At the hands, you can see a lot of panel lining here on the inside, and even on the back. Again, nice detail, but the quality is the issue here, not the amount of detail. Like, there's misalignment here, paint rubs all over, like all the red paint got rubbed off here, and I think it's just because the paint probably didn't have enough time to cure before it was put into packaging. And the back, the jetpack looks good again from afar, but once you start looking at some of the details, you'll see that there's the red should have covered a little bit more there. More paint issues up top here, but overall nothing too much to complain about. My boosters has some paint here, but overall I don't think all that terrible in terms of paint apps. I've heard and seen much worse than what I have. So I'm not complaining. As far as the articulation goes, he has a lot. He has a nice ball jointed head, which gets 360 motion. No light piping on the back, because again, it wouldn't really make sense to do so when you're gonna have that jetpack there. Arms are nice and ratchety, and also in and out. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that give him more than 90-degree articulation. The hands have rotation, and each of the fingers, I'm gonna just again try to zoom in to show you guys how much articulation is here. So there's the thumb, which doesn't move at the very base, but has 2 points of articulation. And each of the hands has 3. So you have the at the joint at the hand, and then 2 more points of articulation. So you can really get them curled up like that. And it's each individual finger has those 3 points of articulation. So you can do the obligatory, you know, flicking people off. 2 fingers. There's no outward. They're not on ball joints, so you can't get like the outward motion, but you can point fingers. One odd choice is the slot, which is very common with Masterpiece and other figures, so that a gun can peg in there with this peg. But he chose to make it very wide, and as such, the hand's not that. Even though the hand's thick, the pegs are so wide that it's a slot that goes all the way through. So you can actually see my finger passing back and forth. I would have liked it much better if he didn't make it that thick. I think it would have been still secure enough. So that, yep, that's his hands. He does have waist articulation, which is restricted by the backpack, but if you remove the backpack, you can get some more articulation. These panels allow you to get more range of motion with the legs. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have didn't zoom out. I apologize. Zoom all the way back out. So again, waist articulation is restricted by the jetpack. When I take it off a little bit later, I'll try to remember to show that you can get a lot more rotation than this. These panels come up so you can get close to, I mean, you know, 80 degrees of motion there. Let's see, with that up. You can get almost 90 degrees outwards this way. You get the upper bicep swivel, upper leg swivel. Nothing at the knee as far as swivel goes. You do get ratcheting knees, which aren't 90 degrees but pretty close. And then the feet, there's a toe piece that is really for transformation but can go down, and then there's a really hefty heel piece. And the heel piece by itself would help out a lot with the back heaviness, but it's also supported by, it works in conjunction with this back panel, so you get the extra support there that goes up the leg, which I actually think is pretty ingenious. Well, it's not ingenious in the sense that, well, that's kind of obvious that would support that, but I haven't seen a figure that's done that before, so I like that. So that's it for articulation, I think, in bot mode. But again, I think he looks fantastic. I will say one of the biggest complaints I have is that he's so big that he just sounds hollow. The plastic is not thin, but if you think about it, you know, it has to fill more space, so there's more volume inside of these. So he sounds hollow, so you can probably even hear when I'm doing like these ratcheting things, he sounds very hollow. But I think, again, it's just because of the sheer size of this guy that causes him to sound that way. Let me get his knee straight. I don't know why, but his crotch keeps coming apart. I didn't have that problem before. One thing I am also noticing is that it's not standing straight. I don't know if one of his legs is not fully extended. Doesn't seem to be the case, but anyway. So yeah, he looks great in bot mode. The one thing that I will do right now is take off the backpack, and it just slides up and off. This tab here slides into here, so you put it on, slide it down. So when you take that off, let's look at waist articulation. As I said earlier, you don't get a lot more, but you do get some more. And I want to look at the backpack real quick, just because this is another area where it seems like the quality is at the level of this. The sheer amount of detail that we see in the body of the figure itself is not carried throughout the rest of the accessories. This is very inconsistent, I think. The wings have a lot of nice rivet detail, but the red part really has very little detail at all. This is just white, pure white, no riveting there, nothing on these fins that do have some amount of articulation. So I think that that inconsistency makes it more jarring than if it were all consistent. And since we're already partially do transformation, let's go ahead and transform him into alt mode. So first thing you'll do is bring these wings down and bring these tabs down. And that's really it. Some people have a lot of bowing on here. Mine didn't really have that. So again, I'm very lucky, I think. The one things that you'll need to do for later is pull these two parts off. And people were talking about how he's a parts former. Yes, he actually is. And just to let you know, these do have specific sides. Like it doesn't really fit on. So there are particular orientation, they're not the same. And the other thing you need to do eventually is pull these down. There we go. They're pretty tight, so I may need a tool to get this one out. Just wedge it in there and pull it out. And you don't actually have to put it all the way back during transformation. I just did it just because. So I'm going to put this off to the side because that's basically all you have to do. Now for the big guy. There's a lot of transformation. He's really big, so I really apologize in advance if I go off camera. So I always like to start off with the easy stuff. Let's just curl his fingers in on both hands. And as you see on most Transformer figures, or at least a lot, you just open up the panel on the arms and fold this in. It actually says that you're supposed to fold it in this way on the instructions. Either way works fine. They both close up fine. From here, what you're going to want to do is go up to the shoulders, and there's panels right here that you pull up. And mine actually, even if mine's super secure, sometimes, at least on this side, it will come up by itself, but actually sticking out pretty well. So pull both of these up. Okay, and that will let you pull the arms out. First, you're going to need to pull off this little panel on the back. Put that off to the side. And these arms will pull out, and then they move on these rods or poles, whatever you want to call them. And you'll need to do that for transformation. Next, you can pull these straight out, essentially, and you'll see that there's pegs here and peg holes that right here, they went straight into that. And similarly, there's these pegs that go into here, which don't hold particularly tight, but that's fine. Now I'm going to move down to the legs, which are probably the scariest and most annoying part of the transformation. So what you're supposed to do is, because, let's move these panels up and out of the way so you can see as much as possible. So what you're supposed to do is, looking into the legs, it moves on this weird joint here, a series of notches. The foot is die cast, this is plastic, and it actually is kind of worrisome because it's on such a, it's not thin, but it seems fragile in the way it's hinged. So what you need to do first is actually push all this back, and be careful. Again, support the plastic here, the white plastic here, while you push this back. And it's supposed to go all the way back so the foot goes all the way in to the back. And the last notch is the one that always causes me the most trouble. So you can see I'm very close, but I'm not actually there yet. Okay, I'm finally in. So you can see that it's all the way back into that white piece. Next, you're gonna push this in, and you can already see that there's a lot of scraping because the tolerances. You need to get this slot, the front part of that ankle mechanism in there. Oh, I should have mentioned before, there is actually ankle articulation that goes back where ankle tilts, but I missed that. So here we go, we push this all the way in, and this gets tight again because of the articulation. There we go, got it past. This go all the way in, you should see this part stick out. And then you fold the heel all the way in, and again there's a indentation for that to go in, and it should sit flat. And once you're done with that, you just close this up. That little tab goes to that slot. Close this up, close this up, close this up. And everything looks at least, you know, decently seamless. It's not completely seamless, but it's fine. And we're gonna do the same scary thing on the other side. If you get this figure, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say it's scary. Again, here's some left and right ankle tilt. As Vangelis would say, if they didn't have it, you'd have to throw it away in the trash. So going back again along this mechanism, push it all the way back, push it all the way back, and and again support it, because otherwise people have broken this ankle just because of this transformation. It's very scary. And the plastic quality is really high. That's the thing. It's not... There we go. Oh, jeez. Okay, and I've already managed to push this in most of the way. I actually wish I hadn't done that when I was doing that, because I wanted to show you the first time getting this one in was nearly impossible, because the tolerances were so tight. And then when I actually pulled it out for transformation back, you would be able to see that a bunch of paint got scraped off of this toe just to make it fit in. Again, close this up, and then once you have that done, you just close all these panels on the legs. The next thing we're doing, which is probably one of the most annoying mechanisms that I hate of any transformation, are the collapsing leg mechanisms that, you know, you're just supposed to push it as hard as possible, basically, and to get them to collapse. At least with MP10s, there was a button that you push that made it release and go down. But with, like, say, this figure and Quake Wave and even like Leodux, just basically just grabbing and pushing is probably the most nerve-wracking and annoying transformation. And this this figure in particular does not have a good mechanism. It's really frustrating. Especially with this leg from mine. It takes a lot of force, but also it's very jumpy. It's not a smooth action. See? And I'm probably gonna have to go off camera just to get this guy completely in. Oh no, there we go. That was way easier than it has been in the past. I actually don't even think I'm all the way in on one side, because it doesn't look even, as you can see. Yeah, see? So I thought I was done on the one leg, but I wasn't, clearly. See, that's just super annoying. I hate this mechanism. Whoever thought this was a good idea, really. So I'm gonna go off camera real quick, guys. It's really crazy who thought this was ingenious. Just give me, there we go. And if you heard that really loud pop, that means, and really the only way you can tell that it's all the way in is that really loud, scary pop. And basically it goes all the way up so that the knee is up to the cockpit. Alright. Okay, so going back up to the top, we're going to pull this cockpit up, and at the same time push this head back. But you need to move the cockpit enough, or the head, because the head can't go all the way back without the cockpit moving. And then this part is all die cast or metal. And there's little indentations, and you want to push that all the way in so that they snap into place, and that's very secure. Next, coming around the front, and people complain about this floppiness. It's not like there's any flimsy parts here, really. I mean, they're fine. Some of them they're not particularly thin. It's just they look super floppy because I think they're designed to be. It's really because there's kind of like almost like a loose ball joint in here that allows them to move enough and get into position enough. I'm not concerned about it. It just looks really sloppy. And I'm going to push these panels down now because I forgot to do that earlier. Next, what you're going to need to do is split the legs and the cockpit all the way out. And then, let's see if I can do this. So I'm going to pull the arm straight out like this, keeping the red point up. And what you're going to do is rotate this all the way in. So this is all the way down the pole. You're going to rotate all the way in, and this tab is going to connect in there, and the rest is going to kind of fit in there. Sorry about that, everyone. My battery ran out because this video, well, I've been shooting a series of videos, but so let's go back to where we were, and I ran out of battery. So again, pull the arm straight out like this, so and rotate them up, and that's the easiest. And you're gonna rotate this in and tab. And usually this is pretty easy, but There we go. And then from here, you have a metal tab in here that has the corresponding tab in near the elbow or near the bicep, and you just rotate that straight down and kind of tab that into place. It's not that secure, but if you do it right, you'll feel it go in. So the same thing from here. Rotate the bicep around, pull this up, get this out of the way, and rotate this in. And you'll hear a tab. Once again, this tab here will go in to that hole. And again, you'll hear it, but it's you don't necessarily always feel like it's in there really well. Like this, the one on the right now, it's not tabbing in all that securely. Well, that's good enough for now. All right, and then what you do with these floppy pieces is that you have this peg here that goes in this peg hole into the shoulder, but similarly, this peg here will fit into kind of this area here, and it's hard to describe. It doesn't go into that hole, it goes like in this area here. So what I do first is get the hole lined up on the shoulder, get that in, and then you want to push in to get that. So on this side again, push it into the shoulder first, and then there we go, and push in this way, this direction, and back, and you'll hear it snap in. And we're finally almost done. So let's push this up. There's a sliding mechanism here that reveals the cockpit. It's very tight. It's easier just to, once you get the tip out, to pull the rest of the cockpit. And here, I put this back on. The instructions say actually to leave this off, which is just annoying because it makes it feel like this serves no other purpose than to cover up the sides. But you can leave it off or put it on. I think it looks a little bit cleaner with it on. So I just go ahead and put it on. The only annoying thing is these tabs are just wherever. It should have been really easy to have some mechanism to make it fold all the way back. Or fold in. I think that's just kind of lazy. People had complained, myself included, that the sides of the torso were empty, or you could see into the chest, and I feel like this was just like a last minute add-on to kind of satisfy people that it's not hollow. But in any case, this, now we go back to the jetpack, and what you're going to do is the same thing, that same tab that you used to slide on the backpack before is kind of upside down now. So before it went on like, well, before it went on this one, and now this time it went, before it went on this tab, and this one now it's going to go here. So you just align that and then slide it back, and that's it. The legs, these little pieces that are hanging down, there's holes in the legs that they go into, and they just slide in. Just make sure that they're fully back, and just push it in. You might have to get those hands out of the way. Okay. And last but not least, these pieces go on the nose area here, and again, there is a specific orientation, so that's the wrong side. There we go. And there's 4 peg holes. Mine don't actually go in all the way. I think it's because again, just poor design. The holes go in only part way, and then there's blockages on the left side. So I probably will have to shave these 2 pegs down just to get them to sit actually fully in these holes and flush, so that there's not a gap. Because right now I can't get rid of these gaps because it just can't go in anymore. And there we have it. Let's get it down here. And there we have it. That's Kronos in alt mode. It took a little while, but he looks really good, right? For the most part. This part here is the most annoying. Again, there's a lot of screws that are visible from the top, and again, that could have, I think that's lazy. That easily could have been filled in. There's no reason that they need to have those screws visible. Again, I think it was just a last minute add-on to cover up the sides. No landing gear. You can, as I said before, you know, move these up, move these down. The wings have some articulation. I don't know why you would want that or need that. But that's really it for him in his alt mode. And I'll do some size comparisons. What do I have around me? So let's put him next to the MP11 mold. This is not MP11, obviously. This is Acid Storm. But in terms of size, let's see, can I zoom out any more? Alright, well, we'll have to make do. In terms of length, Skyfire is about an inch, maybe inch and a quarter longer. In terms of width, he's a good deal, his wingspan's a good deal wider. They don't scale particularly well, but that's because the MP11s, the Seekers never scaled well in alt mode with the other cars and everything like that. And the same is true here. He should be much bigger if he was going to go to scale, but I mean, realistically, we're not going to be able to ever have a perfect scale in both alt mode and in robot mode. So I'm perfectly happy with this scale. I think he's a good size. I like him. He looks really good from all sides, I think, for the most part, with the exception here. The back looks really nice, actually. A little empty here. And again, if there's something you could do with these tabs, this should have been super easy just to fold these back in. And at the same time, it would have covered those holes. I don't know. I'm not a designer. So let's look at the bottom. The bottom, obviously, you just see a bunch of arms and stuff. At the top, you do see part of the head, but not a whole lot. I think that's fine. But the bottom, it does look super messy. You have the split cockpit here. You can just see the legs and arms. So, but it's not like you're really going to be displaying a jet that way anyway. So I don't think that's a major flaw. All right. And I know this video is already getting super long, so I'm going to go ahead and transform it back. So this is the alt mode to robot transformation. So once again, the first thing you do is pull off the jetpack. Oh, actually first what you want to do is, because you have these legs hooked on here, just pull the legs out. I feel like that's the easiest way. Just be careful because you don't want to break these tabs. And you want to push these in. I'm not going to push them all the way in because you don't really need to. But you can. And then push these all the way down. And these are automatically will go back up. And you think you're done, but you're not with the jetpack. You need to take these two pieces off and store them. And that's another thing I'll show you later, is that I think this storage, while I don't really mind parts forming all that much, I think it's sloppy that he stores them here, because you can see them from front view very easily. Why he didn't put them up here where it was all covered, I just don't know. I just think that's, again, sloppy, almost like an afterthought that DaCa-Toys could have done a little bit better with a little bit of forethought. So let's see here. From here, the first thing we'll do is go ahead and push the cockpit in. That's easy. Just make sure it's all the way in, otherwise you're gonna have problems when you fold that down. Next, we're gonna pull off this plate. If you installed it, again, you don't have to install it. Actually, the instructions recommend not installing it. From here, you're gonna wanna pull this out first. So pull it towards you, and then pull it out sideways to get that out. So again, pull it towards you to release the top, and then pull it out. Okay, and then the arms, pull these straight up towards you, and then pull them outwards. And really just rotate them around the back for now. The cockpit and legs, go ahead and collapse them. And they tab in fine. And again, this is actually getting really loose. I don't know what's going on here. Might have to tighten that up with some future or something. Next, we're gonna pull these legs out. If I can do it, there we go. That sounds like it's all the way out. And see, this one leg is a lot worse than the other when it comes to this mechanism, this joint, and still it's not all the way out. There we go. I think that's it. All right, let's keep going down, working the feet. Pull this up, and the heel up. So the first thing, this die-cast heel, you're gonna pull that out, and then we're gonna pull the toe out. Hopefully I won't need another tool, but it looks like I will. Oh, that's not gonna work. There we go. Pull that straight out, and then you're gonna want to push on the mechanism to get the feet rotated straight. And then you can close this down, and depending on what kind of pose you're gonna do, you're gonna pull this down, and this again is gonna ride on those ridges to support the heel and give it a lot of support. And I know this one, I'm almost certain I'm gonna need a tool to get the toe out. So move these up out of the way, pull the heel back, and that's just not gonna work. So I'm just gonna grab a screwdriver and be very careful, because again, you don't want to damage the paint or anything like that, but there we go. That was actually less painful than I thought it was gonna be. Open this up, and again, here's what I was talking about before that I didn't get a chance to show you before. That is all paint scrape. That's supposed to be gray paint there. The reason for that is because of the tight tolerances, and I tried to unscrew here. There's some screws here that you could try to undo to get the tolerances a bit lighter or easier, but it didn't really work for me. And again, the scary part is you can see it flexing when I move that, so you have to be very careful about this with this figure. Oh, jeez. Okay, I'm gonna go off camera again. And that's for me. That's one indicator that figure could be better. Is if I have to go off camera just to transform him. That's a negative sign for me. Ow, son of a gun. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, back in frame. So I had to push that out. Again, close these panels on the side, the front, and the peel piece. Alright. Getting close to the finish line. So again, from back here, you're gonna push and get that cockpit Going forward, the head will also come with it, but you can help it. That's gonna go all the way in. There's some tabs here, but they're more for positioning, not for holding things in. And then you're gonna tab this hole into that tab. This one's gonna go back in there, and there's another piece in here that has a small. So there's kind of like 3 areas. Just get it all kind of lined and pushed in. You can hear them actually get into place. So the top one, middle one, and then the bottom one, you'll hear them all. And pull these tabs up in preparation for these arms. Come up and forward and in, and then pull these down to hold it in place. Same thing here, up, in, push this down to get it in place. Rotate the arms. Get the bicep, get the hands coming out. My fingers are a little bit loose on this hand, but nothing a little future shouldn't be able to fix. Alright. And while we have it, since I didn't show it earlier, get this tab, open up the thumb and the fingers, just push it straight in, holds in super secure since it's so long and also very tight, so it holds it very securely. You can see the gun tab coming through out of his back here. Back of his hand, not the back of his body clearly. Alright, so then bring back this part, open up his arms like so. These just push in and then close these flaps that fill in the sides, which again really seems like the only purpose. So here again, I was talking before about this one shoulder tab coming off a lot on mine. And then last but not least, this tab, this slot goes into this with this tab. Just push it on, slide it down, and then we're back in robot mode. And we're done. Yay! So, my final thoughts on this figure. He looks great from here. From when you're a few feet back, he looks great. In both modes, really. What I, again, have been talking about is that the quality here, the quality assurance, and just not even just a factory thing, it's the design. If they had a couple more passes of, you know, tolerance checks, like with the toes and some of the tabs, there's gaps in a lot of areas that aren't terrible on mine. Some have been a lot worse on others, but stuff like that, the lack of quality check on stuff like this, I mean, that's a mold piece. You should have caught that before, and it's a very obvious one given that it's very up front. The inconsistent detail in the gun when compared to the figure here, as well as the jetpack when compared to the figure here, that's upsetting. But those details, again, are kind of lost when you sit a little bit far back, or if you have bad eyesight, I suppose. But all in all, I think for people who are interested in this figure, if you think about it as, it was kind of marketed as a masterpiece line figure that should have been $200, $250, somewhere in that range, and that we were getting it at a phenomenal price of $160. And I think at $160, he is still a pretty good deal if you get one with good paint apps and doesn't have a lot of problems in terms of QC. But I think that's like a full price $160 figure. I think that was fair. I don't think you're getting a bargain as far as, I don't think this guy is a $200, $250 figure that we are getting at a phenomenal price at $160. I think he's a $160 or so figure, and he meets that criteria for me. Am I going to keep him? For me personally, I may keep him just because he looks great. He's a great scale, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I was a bit disappointed overall. I really was hoping for like a $200, you know, $250 figure of the quality of like Quake Wave or other Fans Toys items, but that's not what we got. I think we got a very good, very good first effort from DaCa-Toys, from a one-man operation. I think it's very good. I love the fact that Arafat went out of his way and redesigned it based on fan input, and redid the face mold. I think overall this figure looks fantastic in bot mode. I'm always going to keep him probably in bot mode, but even if I put him in alt mode, I think he's still going to be a great addition to my display. But he's not a fun figure, honestly. He's not a figure that I'd like to transform. I think there are some cool parts of the transformation, but I think there's some annoying parts of the transformation as well. Yeah, so overall I think he's a great figure, but he's not a phenomenal deal or a phenomenal overall figure. I think there are better figures to be had, but I do like him. I may replace him with the rumored Fans Toys Skyfire if and when he comes out after the Dinobots, but again, I can't really judge him, compare him to something that we've only seen a silhouette of. So I like him. I'm pretty happy with my purchase. I may not keep him for a really long time, but overall I think it's a great first attempt from DaCa-Toys and Arafat. I hope that they continue to make figures. There's a lot of drama on the forums back and forth between him and some of the forum members, but I think overall it's a great figure overall, and that if we lost Arafat and DaCa-Toys and weren't able to see them improve on this really great first effort overall, then that would just be a shame to the community and the Transformers fandom in general. So here's to you, Arafat. I hope you guys come back. DaCa-Toys comes back with another figure, Hypnos or whoever it may be. But that's all, guys. Have a good one.